we'll get through the first off. So you got here 20 years ago and just fell in love with the place, or?
Yeah, I was living in Tokyo on and off, and came up to the Fuji area to work on building a farm and big farmhouse for somebody.
Yep.
And I remember driving through Aokigahara, the forest here, the first time coming up from Tokyo, and I almost was moved to tears. Just so happy to be back in the forest. It's really beautiful up here.
Yeah, because you come from the forest in America. You love the outdoors, don't you?
Yeah. It's kind of really clean, pure nature out here.
Wow, would have been pretty amazing coming from America to seeing this 20 years ago as well. Like, it's probably one of the most beautiful places.
Yeah, the mountain is so beautiful. I mean, the mountain is just stunning. The forest, I mean, I think why I've been able to stay is because the forest is so similar to New England and, that area where I'm from. It's kind of the same latitude. So the northern forests are very similar. So, comfortable living.
Did you have a vibe or feeling from Mount Fuji? Like, whenever I have a bit of a, like, I obviously come here to ghost hunt and find bodies and stuff like that, but I find this area soothes me in a way. Compared to, like, there is the paranormal stuff that goes on, but I find this whole area, there's something about the vibe.
Yeah. No, I do feel the same. It's beautiful. It's deep nature. The nice thing about living here, Japan is pretty crowded and the towns are a bit messy. Bit old and beat up. But the thing out here is that you're never... if you walk past, you're always 300 or 400 meters from the mountain, right? It's a steep valley, so even if you're in the city and town, there's just big nature like all around us here, which is really nice. I see more deer and pigs and owls on a daily basis than people if I stay to the back roads. So
it's good hunting in that forest. I saw about 60 last night on the walk back. So
I didn't know if the deer are really in there, because the one thing about the forest
there's heaps in there.
Yeah, well,
if you go to Lake Seiko, they're in the bush on the edge where you go in and chill on the soccer fields and that.
Yeah, they like the edge. I know they're in the edge. I kind of question whether in the deep forest, because it's such treacherous walking with all the craters.
Yeah.
And I definitely around this edge here.
Yeah, Lake Seiko side. I've only seen a couple over the road.
Yeah.
So when did you become aware? Like, were you aware when you first moved here that this place was notorious for suicide?
Probably hadn't heard of it. Probably not heard of it. So, till I got up here. Yeah, I didn't know anything about it. When I got up here, what had just happened too was the Om Shinrikyo was a cult. The sarin gas attacks on the Tokyo subway.
That was in here somewhere.
They were up here, man. Those guys, they were all over Japan. It was a pretty big organization, but they had moved up here on the other side of the forest. I don't know if you've been up there, but there's a town called Fujigane, Asagiri, and it's always in the fog. It's really, really cloudy, like 6 days a week. I'd be driving in the day. I couldn't find my house sometimes.
Wow.
It's because it's clouds, right where they hit. So that's part of the forest too, right? It gaps that. And that's a really kind of mysterious place. So Ohm had built their big chemical fat production plants up in there. And they just left. They'd just gotten kicked out of here. There was a sarin gas attack. They were kind of very like anti, they're doomsday cult basically.
Yeah.
And they killed, I think, 7 people on the subways in Tokyo.
Yeah.
And they'd gotten kicked out. So the first thing when I came up here, I was a long-haired white hippie.
Yeah.
And all the locals were like, "Are you part of the Ohm?" Or part of the Ohm? They were so traumatized by it, right? Because it was in their village, and they had to kick them out. And
what's the shame thing, isn't it too? Like the
No, that town they changed the name of the town by now.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how far is that town from here?
Just the other side of the forest. So if you go up to 71 that cuts through the forest here.
Yeah.
If you go up that road, it's the other side of the forest. So it's 10 miles maybe less.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. But the interesting you say how I came to Fuji and the attraction to the area and then also I look at why I stayed, because before I came here I never lived anywhere more than 2 years or so. I was bopping around the world, and to land here so long and stay, and one thing is that it is so beautiful and it's relaxing, so I'm comfortable here. I've got freedom. I've got I can kind of do what I want to in nature, so it's been easy to live. But then I also feel there's an attraction to Fuji, and I've lived on active volcanoes numerous times in my life, not intentionally, just kind of end up there.
Yeah.
And then I feel like I have this attraction, like Fuji-san's keeping me here, and I'm far from friends and family and a lot of other things. But I feel there's some kind of attraction here. And before I ever came here, it was kind of a series of coincidences that got me here. But I used to, when I lived in Tokyo, I would see Fuji from the train or from a building. You could see it, and I was always like, "Wow, you guys, look, there's Fuji!" Yeah. Like you can see this giant volcano on the horizon, and nobody was very interested in it. But and then coincidentally, I came here, so I felt there was kind of like I was praying to the mountain. I was looking at it every day, and it kind of drew me up here somehow.
Well, I talk to a lot of Buddhist monks and stuff because of what I do, and they always tell me that Mount Fuji is like a healing. If you just sit there and look at Mount Fuji, it will heal you. Yeah. So
there is
it's pretty special.
It's balance, and I always feel mountains. You see the earth. If you're on a flat area, you don't have any reference for where you are. If you're a two-dimensional creature, flatland. If you're a two-dimensional creature living on paper, you don't know what's there. But if you can see the mountain, you're seeing the earth up around you. Yeah. So it kind of gives you more of a connection to where we are.
It's very spiritual here, like it's but then it's almost like, because I personally, this is what I think, I call this place heaven and hell. Mm-hmm. I call Mount Fuji heaven, and I call Aokigahara hell. Yeah. And I was talking about someone talking about the other day, and they were like, "Oh, it's just a beautiful forest." But to me and what I've seen, I don't look at it like that.
Yeah, I think I can see. I can agree with that.
There's something really dark in there.
Yeah, it's people though, man. People create hell, right? So hell is in our heads. I mean, if you took people and the Bible off the planet right now, there wouldn't be hell. I mean, maybe a lion gets stuck in a hole for a bad night, but basically, hell is a creation of humans in our minds, right? Yeah. So if there's no people on the planet, there wouldn't necessarily be hell. So I mean, the forest on its own, it's a bit spooky, but I think that the hell is the human emotions and the suicides and the dark stuff. People have been through hell to get up here. There's hell in their hearts and their vibrations. Yeah. You're electromagnetic field, right, around you with your brain and your emotion and whatever your vibrations presumably affect that field, right? I mean, we can't see it, but you could read it with a magnet, right? And if you're happy or sad, there's your brain has electricity, so there's a field around it, right? So that does that leave? I mean, does that stay? Does that leave? Does that create that? What you're saying in hell? It's maybe a accumulation of the human energy, and if that's experiences, if that's actually some electromagnetic artifact, something left over, or it's just kind of the feeling that people are bringing up there. It's
I mean, and it's interesting you say that, because like I'm a Christian. I'm not probably the greatest Christian, but I believe in God, the Ten Commandments best I can. Yeah. And I also believe that suicide is the greatest slap in the face to God. Yeah. That's what I believe. Yeah. Which is true, because God creates you, and the biggest slap in the face you can get is, you take your own life. Yeah. So I look at, a lot of people go to Aokigahara, and of course it's beautiful and that. Now, what I want to ask you though is like, tell us about that cave time and the first time you went into Aokigahara, where you were like, because you pick up on vibes, where something was off.
Yeah, so I almost didn't get out of the forest. It was like this, it was late in the year, it was getting pretty cold, so the evenings were below freezing. Yep. And I was overflowing with guests, and we needed a new guest room. I had volunteers sleeping in tents, and I was like, we got to find a cave.
What year would this be?
This was about a 2000. I had my little black and white dog Speck was with me, so like 2003, 4, something like that. Right. So I thought I needed to find a cave. There's the Big Ice Cave and the Wind Cave here that are kind of touristy.
Yeah.
Do you want to check it? Make sure you're getting it?
Oh, it's recording.
I mean,
sure I just want to get closer to you so I can hear your voice better. Yeah.
Let me kill this.
That's right.
Yeah, so I'd kind of gone over to the edge of the forest here, kind of the close edge. I don't want to go in deep because it's spooky and it was getting late. And
so, can I just jump in? Yeah. What do you believe in ghosts?
Yeah, not necessarily.
So what made it spooky? Was it more the humankind I could get lost and something could happen to me?
Yeah, was
it a vibe from the forest? Or?
I mean, spooky is spooky because everybody else is talking about ghosts and believing ghosts, and I know there's dead bodies in there and people that are considering suicide, and it's also really lumpy, and it's a spooky feeling, dark, and it's super quiet in there. Yeah. There's no birds.
Yeah.
There's not many birds singing, and there's enough edge and berries in there that you think there'd be more birds.
Yeah.
So that's kind of eerie, and just because it was getting dark and it was cold, I didn't want to get stuck in there. You can get your foot. The lava flows are really porous. The forest is only 1,200 years old.
Yep.
So there's very little topsoil, so it's just crevices and craters everywhere. So at that point, but I wasn't really believing much in ghosts or not. I mean, kind of ambivalent about it. I think it's not anything I'm worried about bumping into in the real world. But I had gone out there and I just kind of was walking into the edge of the forest, and I saw the remains of probably a high school student girl. I would guess it'd been there 10 years, could have been 20 years.
Really?
It was just a little bit of clothing and some bone chips, nothing really.
Oh, wow.
And
was it a body just by itself? Was there a rope? Was it suicide by pills, or what do you think?
It was so long ago, man. It was so long ago you couldn't say. It was there was nothing really. It was just a little bit of clothing and a little bit of bone. It could have been there 10 years, 20 years,
Oh, wow.
And I thought, this is interesting too, I guess, because I thought that I should say a little prayer or something at least, right? And I just said a little prayer, but then I felt very disrespectful, because I kind of thought, it's stupid. Your poor family, and kept taking your own life. I wanted to say a prayer and say, hey, good luck on your journey, or Oskari sama deshita,
Prayer. Yeah.
Something. I don't have anything in mind, but just I felt like I should say something. But then in my heart, I felt like that I didn't really, I wasn't approving of that person. I was disapproving because she'd killed herself, and what a waste, and like you said, slap in the face of God. And I took a 10 yen piece, and I just some kind of gesture, and I just I thought I should leave a token or 10 yen or something, right? But I kind of flipped it, kind of flippantly, like not very respectfully.
Okay.
And I felt really guilty as I was walking away. I was like, this poor girl,
Yeah.
and I should be more respectful, but it's a sad thing, and I felt a little bit judgmental about it, I guess. And
plus you would have been in maybe a little bit of shock if that's the first time you found one.
So you don't really know what to think. And so then what happened after that, I guess originally I kind of ascribed to the fact that I was disrespectful to the spirit that was there. Because the moment I walked away,
bang,
I went into the forest about 30, 40 feet, and it's kind of hard to walk in there, and I got real dizzy. And I got tunnel vision. So if you've ever passed out, right before you pass out, you kind of get these snowflake dark patterns around your eyes, and you can't quite see, and it gets closer and closer. Your vision gets tunnel vision, basically. It gets smaller and smaller.
I get it a lot in there.
Yeah,
but you got to spend a bit of time in there to get it.
Yeah.
That's what I noticed when I was watching you on Dark Tours and talking to him, and he was like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, you've probably been in there like an hour or two, mate. Like, when you spend a lot of time in there.
I don't think it's a time thing, because at this point, I just walked into the edge.
Yeah.
It was foggy, and I wasn't sure I was going to get out.
So
and
you think it was paranormal then?
No, I don't.
No?
But at that time I did. I thought, because there was some connection, because I'd just seen the body, and it was this time connection, having just been by this site, and then immediately afterwards. But I also walked into the forest, and so out here we're on soil.
Yeah.
And when you're in there, you're right on top of the lava flow where there's all this magnet. Have you ever taken a magnet to the gravel out there?
No.
Super magnetic. Grab a magnet and put it down on any of the soils. It'll stick to the magnet. So I think there's definitely a magnetic field.
Yeah.
And
there definitely is.
Yeah.
So do you think it's the gas escaping from the volcano that makes people dizzy, or
I think it's the magnetic field.
Magnetic field.
Yeah.
Have you ever used a compass in there?
It goes loopy.
So the compass does go loopy?
Yeah, compasses go loopy. And if you take a magnet and just the trails that are through there, the dust on the trail, the gravel, just put a magnet down to it, and it'll all come right into the magnet. Yeah.
Far out. And so when you found that body, is that the first time you've ever seen a suicide or a body like that? Or?
I don't know the time order. I don't know if that was the first one or not.
Yeah, okay. Did you report that body to the police?
Nah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's another thing too, because I feel between me, I don't participate much in societal,
Okay.
I mean, police and funerals and that kind of stuff. I don't really think about that stuff too much. I mean, it's your body and God, you know, and I thought she's gone back to wherever she goes, and whether I call the police and they harass me about it or not, it's not going to make any difference for her. She's already gone.
Yeah.
In retrospect, I realized that families would like to know what had happened.
Yeah.
And that it probably would have been better to alert somebody and just let them, you know, see if they can contact the family at some point for closure.
So you were like, you know, you found the body and you sort of left the token and just left it there out of respect for that person's decision.
That's what I felt, yeah. Because I didn't want, I felt like she's here. It's this beautiful little pine grove. It was this quiet, nice little soft space. It was a really nice little area.
Because I hear a lot of people say that, what you're saying. A lot of people, generally people are like, leave the bodies in there.
Yeah, you don't want a bunch of cops and investigators and the whole
thing. Do you ever regret
YouTubers.
YouTubers, yeah. Thanks, Jake. Do you ever regret that? Do you ever think, I would have liked her family to know about it? Or?
No regrets. Yeah, I mean, if it was so far gone that if I would get to do it again, you know, it was fine at the time, but in retrospect, you know, help the families.
Did you ever think to go back and find that body again, or?
It was so long ago, man. I mean, that was 15 to 18 years ago, and it was almost gone at that point. So, you know, I would now if I had, you know, a little time and I was over there, duck in and look around for it. But even at that time, it was all, you could have walked right by it and you wouldn't have seen it. It was 95% back to the earth.
Yeah, I've got you. Yeah, okay. It's each to their own. Do you think, how many bodies do you think are in that forest undiscovered that the moss and nature have taken over?
Oh, dude, that's what I don't want to think of. Then it gets spooky, you know? I mean, I'm not worried about ghosts jumping up and grabbing me or something, but... Well, the whole planet. I mean, everything we walk on is dead animals. Soil is by definition dead animals, you know? So if you're humans in the mix... I don't know, man.
When you were filming Dark Tourist, or you're in the Dark Tourist thing, and there was that woman who was talking about suiciding at the cave. Because I watched a bit of that Dark Tourist. I didn't watch it after about 5 minutes. I just can't stand it.